How much leather preservative should I apply? This is also one of those things that's going to depend on what leather you're putting it on and what the situation is and how much it needs, what kind of shape it's in, what kind of weathering it's been through. You're going to have to judge for yourself, but in my opinion, it's kind of difficult to put too much on unless you really just don't understand, or this is the first time doing it. And then you might think that it needs more than it actually does. In that case, should have watched the video first. Well, we're going to find out right now how much we should apply, and I've got a couple of different leathers to show you for an example. So this is a French calf. This is a chrome tanned leather. It's got a buffed finish, which means it's kind of got a little bit of a shine to it. And they accomplish that with probably a light coat of some kind of wax or something, and then their buffing machine, whatever they've got that they buff their leathers with at the tannery. So this is a soft leather. It's relatively thin. This is the kind of thing that I do make bags and pouches out of, so I do want this protected when it goes out the door. So if I was going to oil it, you're going to notice that I've taken my rubber washer, whatever that is in there, out of mine, and that's because I tend to drip oil all over the place if I shake that up and that thing is in there. If you do take that thing out of there, it will leak because it's the rubber gusset basically that keeps the oil in with the metal lid. So don't knock it over if you do that. So when you dip it in there after shaking it up, and when shaking it up, I usually just kind of get the stuff off the bottom. Make sure all the waxes and the oils are kind of together. When you first pull your dauber out, you're going to be loaded. Now sometimes that's okay. On this kind of bag, I'm going to take a little bit of that off. Not all of it, but I'm going to press it on the sides and let it go back in the jar. And I'm just going to work in a circular motion. I want to get full coverage and make sure that it goes in all the little nooks and crannies. Now if I'm satisfied with that, sometimes I'll take my hand and spread the excess out, and then I'll take a clean cloth. I like cotton. And just kind of give that a quick buff to get all the excess residue off the surface. And you can see the difference already, I hope, of about an hour ago, freshly done. And now we'll take a look with the heavy duty LP. Depending on how much coverage you want. I just use my bare hands because I'm not really afraid of this stuff. Now already, I've put a little too much on for the area that I've got. But that's okay. So if I've applied too much, I'll just take my cloth again. You can see there's, in my opinion, a bit too much on there. That's not all going to soak in. It's going to leave a lot of tacky stickiness to the surface because of all the excess oils and waxes that have nowhere to go. And so once again, I'll just take my cotton cloth. I'm just going to use a circular motion to kind of make sure it gets in the grain in every direction. And now, that didn't take long. That's done. You can see about an hour ago, freshly applied. So here's a piece of veg tan leather that I would commonly use for strappings or belts or handles or something like that. Maybe a bit much, but I'm going to do both sides of this to show you. So I'll spread it out. Probably a good idea I take my ring off. Alright, so there's a good bit on the surface there. It's kind of getting wet and melted from the heat of my hand. I'll just take that off with my hand and put it on the back. And then I'm just going to rub this in with my hand, use the heat from my hands and the friction. And the heat will open up the pores because this is skin after all. Touch up any smaller areas. The way that I gauge if I've got enough is that I don't see much deviation between what I've done and what needs to be done. And what I mean by that is you can tell the darkness. You can see the lower spots in that grain are lighter, and that's because I've just rubbed it on the higher raised spots of the flesh side of this. But if I want it all the way in there, then I'll just add a little bit, just a little bit. And use my hand again. And that'll be the same thing. Now I'm just going to buff it off with the cloth.